Cite the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have a first action consent approval of agenda in the minutes. If I can get a motion on 2-3. Thank you, Justin. Lori with the second. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Right, we have a consent agenda for business operations. 3-1 through 3-9. We have approval of the general fund warrant in the amount of $1,706,617.23. Approval of a general fund warrant in the amount of $63,492.76. Approval of a special aid fund warrant in the amount of $255.48. Approval of the capital fund warrant in the amount of $71,277.50. Approval of the school lunch fund warrant in the amount of $8,374.05. Another approval of a school lunch fund warrant in the amount of $7,808.00. The CSE CPSE recommendations as listed. And the treasurer reports as listed. Can I get a motion? Thank you, Ken.
Sorry.
Thank you, Dan. Any discussion?
Criminal warrant, it didn't look like it was signed. Did not have to be signed before.
Did they scan the wrong one? I just pull it up. Well, it is not the one, I don't have my signature on it. I don't know why not. I will ask Cassie and get it signed and I'll forward it to everybody.
Okay, good catch. Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving into reports, turn it over to Superintendent Abby.
So this afternoon, we had representatives from March Associate meet with contractors for our coming capital outlay project, not our capital project, but the outlay project. So they were there to take a look at the scope, take a look at the site and see what was in that scope. It includes hardening of doors, replacement of some exterior doors around MPS. So they walked around the property for probably about a half hour, took notes, took pictures, got everything they need. So that on November 20th, bids will be opening for that capital outlay project. So then we can get underway with that as soon as possible. Today finalized and put out our building and grounds supervisor position. Put it out as looking for letters of interest and resumes by November 25th, with the hope of having a candidate available, going through the interview process and on for our December 9th board meeting. Obviously, that'll be pending who applies and what type of candidates we receive. That's the tentative timeline as of now. So we got that posted out on OLAS. It's on our website, it's on Facebook. Trying to get the word out. We posted it internally as well, so that people can kind of share the word that we're looking for that position. A lot of talk about governmental shutdown in New York State Education Department. They've reached out through district superintendents, conducted a survey of districts so that they could share what services each district has in place so that they could gather that back as data so they know like how communities, how people will be impacted with those benefits being restricted, now maybe partially funded in the back and forth as far as like where that's all leveling out. Connected Community Schools, as soon as the word came out about that, hosted what they call a town hall and essentially like invited all of their representatives to kind of be on a Zoom call and to hear what services they have, to hear what needs are out there and to kind of get ahead of it. And then I was able to speak with Jesse Sibley, our in-house connected community persons, and he has already reached out to the Waterville Food Pantry. He did that before I even talked to him, set up an appointment with them, talk to them about, do you have additional needs and are you, is your supply where it needs to be if there's an influx and they're in communication. He's been talking with families who he knows tend to struggle and have a little bit of food insecurity, and he provided a plan for them. So everybody's just kind of got their ears to the ground listening to see if anyone else is in need, but the supports are there, at least for the time being, and for the length of time, I guess we'll see, you know, how much they actually get utilized, but nice to hear that they were all over that right away. As soon as State Ed started putting things out simultaneously, they were already on the ball and already setting things up and running. So people are doing what they need to do to make sure that people are getting the support that they need in some time of uncertainty. And that's actually all I had for the evening.
Good.
Can I ask a question about the
course.
food insecurity?
Yeah.
I know there's a number of community agencies, churches and stuff that are wanting to do something, and I know one in particular wondered about sponsoring certain families, if there were families in there, there are places that have names, I mean, not that people would need to know, but to connect to.
If any of those agencies, like specifically in this community, if they just reach out to the building administrators, they'll connect them with the counselors and the social workers, and those are the people, in addition to Jesse, obviously, those are the people that are really gonna know who receives some additional support or who is in need of support or who's going through a tough time. And they would be able to connect them with those families for sure. So if they reach out to them, they'll make sure that they get with the appropriate people to do so.
Thank you.
Well,
My turn. Okay, so business operations, Mr. Abbey and I met with fiscal advisors last week to discuss our upcoming capital project. And we began creating a timeline for the financing of the project, which included the planning of submission to SED for their approval, ensuring that we maximize our aid on the project. The district will start using the capital reserve fund for the beginning stages, and then we will bring on short-term borrowing until the completion of the project, at which time we'll roll that borrowing into a long-term bond. The 5-year plan, I'm still working on it, completing the expenses. We have implemented a module in our Envision, which is our software that we use in-house in the business to take care of our accounting, payroll, and human resources. And this module will allow us to project salary scenarios for the upcoming school years based on what union. So we'd have one for our teachers, and you can go up to like 5 years. You can do different scenarios. It's a great module that had never been implemented. So we did that, Jesse and I, and it'll be a huge amount of time saving in budgeting and negotiations. So we've done that. I'm currently working on implementing a web-based module for Envision that will allow our employees to enter their leave time and supervisors to go in and approve it. This will prevent employees from entering incorrect leave and give real-time leave balances. Currently, employees must check their balance on their paycheck. And that is a 2-week lag from, so it's only current to 2 weeks prior to the paycheck they're looking at. So other than that, they have to reach out to the business office. So if they want to see their W-2 or their withholding, they always have to reach out to us. This web-based portal will allow them to do all of that for themselves. So it'll save them time, it'll save us time. That should be implemented probably within the next couple of weeks. We'll start the rollout of it. I've attended 2 sessions on the budgeting through the state budgeting or business office. And the first one was conducted by the New York State Director of State Aid, and he explained how they go through their whole scenario, legislative, executive. So completed 2 sessions of that. I have about 8 more left. I completed the New York State ST3. For you that are unaware, the ST3 is the annual financial report the district is required to complete every year in the SED portal. We report the revenues and expenses by line item and the trial balances for each of our funds. So that would include the general, school lunch, federal, capital, scholarship, student organization, and debt service funds. It encompasses all the data collected by and used in the district each year. Includes our bus purchases, our debt balances, payments made on those debts. We report on enrollment and attendance data. And the ST3 is the most crucial reporting tool used by state ed to calculate our state aid. It determines, one, the amount of state aid we're eligible to receive. It monitors our expenditures and tracks how we spend our funds, specifically transportation, special ed, and other programs. It ensures compliance with regulations and targeted aid allocations. It ensures accountability that allows the state to verify our taxpayers' dollars are used appropriately and effectively. And then on the final part of the report, I wanted to update you on our preliminary final budget numbers for the year. We expensed our entire 24-25 budget of $22,297,968. We transferred $996,000 of our general fund unappropriated fund balance to our capital fund to cover principal debt payments from the closeout of our last capital project. And our audit should be coming. Does anybody have any questions?
Do we want to clarify when we think the audit's gonna be done? I want to talk about that now.
We can.
Yeah, I think it'd be good too.
Yeah, the most recent, correct me if I'm wrong, but November 14th is when we were told that that audit would be available to share with us.
Correct.
That's the first date that would be available.
Mhm.
The filing deadline is November 15th. So that timeline is not ideal, obviously. And so if you don't file, there's the threat of potentially holding state aid until you do. So we reached out directly to the Office of Audit Services today to verify that. Because we didn't like the idea of getting it and having to turn around that fast, like that could be problematic. So we called to ask, what does this really mean? If we are a couple days behind this deadline, what does that do to us as a district? And how severe would that be? And the response from them was they can withhold state aid, but what that means is, and it's very unlikely, they said, which I was glad they added that, but they could. And even if they did in that moment, and we then went through our process, met with our audit committee, it's a short amount of time, and then had a special meeting to approve it. Even if they did hold it for that time, we would be fully reimbursed by the following month. And it is very unlikely that that would even happen if that was the case. So it's definitely not ideal. I don't like it, but I also don't like the idea of that pressure making us rush through that acceptance of that audit just because of that. Given that we have the funds, that if it were a delay, which is very unlikely there would be a delay in that aid, but even if there were, it wouldn't be impactful because we would get made whole of the following.
15th is a Saturday, that doesn't take anything to account, like, it's not put the probably Monday or.
That's the date they give. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we've had some emails yesterday and today. Zach did send through some of that in an email to all of us if you want to reference it. I think we just need to be open. We don't have to decide anything now, but once we do get it, to understand we're going to fit a special meeting in that following week at some point. So we can, in my opinion, we can discuss that via email. We don't have to hammer that out tonight, but let's take a look at calendars and we'd obviously like to have everybody, but because it's a special meeting, I would say, hopefully we'd have 5 or 6 at least, not just the minimum. We need to before that happens, yes.
Who else is on the audit? Dan? You on the audit committee, Dan?
I believe you.
Dan? So, you're not on the line?
I'm not.
You again, if I were.
I mean, we can look at it now if y'all want. We just
No, I-
don't have to 100% set it tonight.
No, I just wanna make sure,
Yeah,
I just wanna
I
give
think
that.
the first time
Yeah.
would be an audit
Have
committee
an
meeting. and
Yes.
Special. Yeah.
Prior to.
That was my problem.
Prior to Emirates, but-
Right, and what he put in the email and what we connected via the phone pretty quickly this afternoon. I mean, I personally think a Friday audit committee would be fine if you all have time that day. If you don't, then early the next week, Monday or Tuesday, and then we can, once you schedule that, we'll schedule the board meeting after that. Because we don't really do much after the audit committee reviews it before we have it presented at the board meeting. So it could literally be audit committee meeting on Monday, board meeting Tuesday, or Tuesday and Wednesday or whatever, so that we get it done. So,
So, and I know it's not ideal that it's late, this late, but I do want to stress that the ST3 is the most important part,
Mhm.
because that's what they base all of our aid for next year on. So getting that in, if we didn't, then they wouldn't run your numbers and you wouldn't be able to get that estimated aid that we get in January when they publish. And so that was the most important part. And what they use the audit for in the state aid is that they verify that the information I put in on the ST3 is correct. So that was for state ed, that's the most important, crucial part. And it's clean, so they approved it, everything's done with it,
And they
so.
double check us with our.
Yeah, we go back and forth with them, so you submit it and then they question you for about 3 weeks. And then they finally call it clean and then they verify it with the audit.
At least the case.
yeah, one thing that has occurred to me, and again, I know I mentioned this to Zach already, but it would be appropriate to discuss in the audit committee, and then again, when we review it as a full board, is we need to understand from our auditors why they're so late.
That's what I was gonna say.
This is not acceptable, and we have already heard that we're not the only district, but we're not okay with it even if other districts are, so we need some clarity on
Yeah, they have to do.
what would their plan be for next year? And if we don't have a good plan, then I would want us to explore our options, because we don't want this to become the norm. It seems like it's okay, but heaven forbid if something was wrong, we have no time to fix anything. We have no time for remediation, and we don't want that, so.
So the district as a whole has been meeting all the guidelines. The
Yes.
way it's more on auditing.
Yeah, it's on the auditors.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good, that's
Yeah.
good to know.
Yes,
When we last met with the auditor, when they were here in-house, it was supposed to be like a week or 2 week turnaround.
Right.
And that was well over a month ago.
Yeah, no, I-
Yeah.
So it should have been done a while ago.
wasn't that the week we had our agenda
Yes.
meeting, and you were very encouraged, and we were too. We were like, oh, this is great. They were here. We'll have it. And here we are today. We don't have it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's again, not what we are expecting
Right.
from that relationship. So. Yeah. Thank you for all that. Yep. Who's next?
Principals.
Good evening, everyone. This is a few, putting a spotlight on a few of the highlights from the board report. Superintendent's Conference Day, I appreciated the opportunity just to be able to touch base with the grade level teams, have conversations in complete sentences, which was amazing. Just again, continuing to learn to understand what our needs are at MPS. At our last month's faculty meeting, we focused on de-escalation strategies, and actually our faculty meeting today after school continued understanding the impact of social emotional learning and just emotional regulation with students and staff. Our fire safety day was incredible. So many volunteers showed up. Everyone was happy to be there, just to have the support from the community. It was an amazing day. It was an incredible day. So thank you for the Waterville North Brookfield or St. Paul's because the kids smiled throughout the day. The classroom presentations were great quality and engaging for the students. Just skimming down through, we did send out our preliminary round of attendance letters in correlation to some of the attendance information that was shared in the board report. notification was made to families in regard to, with the goal of improving attendance. We did start something new. Actually, today was our first day of the MPS Academic Success Center. And that is targeting, looking specifically at grades 5 and 6, ensuring students stay on learning paths and completion of both classwork and homework assignments. And it's just a safety net that we've created that we're maximizing our time during school day to get work and findings done and students support as needed. And again, that started today. We have 4 students signed up for that. And the teachers I'm working with the grades 5 and 6 are helping coordinate and get students to be where they need to be in the completion of work. Looking at a couple of things that will make it onto the next board report, but our Halloween activities at MPS, it was great, another great day at MPS. We had our matter meeting on Friday afternoon, coupled with Halloween. The staff energy and the kid energy it was great. It was very exciting at MPS. The pep band joined us for their first celebratory opening performance. A great day. We also have coming up, I welcome all of you to attend our Heroes Challenge for Veterans Day at MPS on November 12th, starting at 8:15. Please come and join as we honor our local veterans. We have a couple of community programs going on right now. We have our our food drive, the Waterville Food Pantry. As Mr. Heavy said, in regards to the Connect Community Schools Forum, I was able to attend that and just kind of see the network of people and the needs and just keep that pulse on food insecurity within our community. But also we are, not only are we supporting collecting food items for the Waterville Food Pantry, but also for our Feed the Vets program. So there's a couple of fundraisers that are going on, and that also the fundraiser for the veterans also supports the Waterville American Legion, the Richland Falls American Legion, and so lots of things going on.
For the high school, our big thing is our first market fair. It's hard to believe it's on Friday. So we're a quarter of the way through it. So I've been several announcements reminding everybody to get your stuff in. You know, today SST, we ran a great report, so we have, I think, probably about where we were in the month, the product report. We also similarly did attendance. So at the high school, we're sending out attendance letters monthly. So we just went through our attendance one. So we look at data within the month. So there was 21 instructional days that were in October. So people are getting a letter. Anybody who missed 5 or more days are getting a letter home. And we also tie that to year to date. So anybody with a 15% absent rate from the beginning of the year, a letter went home there. We included that in absentees is 10%. We have 40 instructional days so far. So anybody with, more than 6 absences are getting the letter home, just to be proactive with it. It's a very proactive letter. We're not calling you out, but we want to make people aware. And I think one of the tricky things is an absence in the eyes of the state. It doesn't matter if you were, in the hospital with a surgery, an absent is an absence, or if you're skipping, and they keep track of all that. So report cards will be going out next week. The second thing there, just to familiar, I don't know if people are familiar with the NCAA clearinghouse. So that's one of our things that we're looking and cleaning up and going back through. So anybody who is looking to be recruited to compete in Division I have to go to the NCAA clearinghouse. So what they have to do is certify all our courses, and that the students have had rigor. They've had specific, years of math, science, social studies, and then all our courses have to be approved. So this hasn't been done in a while. So we went through and cleaned up like every single course that we've done. Some get approved, some get rejected, and some are allowed to be appealed. And it's interesting because some of the things, like, for an example, like our MVCC math class for intermediate math doesn't get approved. It does not get approved by NCAA. So if the kid takes that class, that's one of their math requirements. It is not part of NCAA, and you think so as MVCC. And when I was in New Hartford, we went through the whole appeal process, 100 pages of documentation like that. Will not accept it. But if you go on MVCC site, it's not accepted at MVCC for NC2A either. So they're very particular words. So we're appealing some of our courses. So it is really important for anybody who's at that athletic level that we make sure we gear them to make sure, and sometimes it's how we code things, like a kid in New Visions. You can't be New Vision social studies. It's got to be it's gotta be government and economics, clear, things like that. So that's one of the things, I got about 4 courses that we are gonna try to appeal, get credit for it and that sort of stuff, so that's all gonna be cleaned up. Hopefully by Christmas. This year we're gonna do Hadestown. Is our musical, we had a big reveal the other day, the kids were really excited. So Hadestown is the first year Hadestown is available for high schools to do. So that will be the show this spring. Couple of things, we got kids at the FFA National Convention, we got kids setting up to do our job shadowing. We are doing trout in the classroom this year, so it was one of the projects for two of the boys, so we'll be harvesting whatever. It's actually really interesting. Yeah, I've never seen it. I mean, I did it years ago, like they have to like do artificial insemination and they have to actually like milk the trout and get it all. It's really, thank you. It's a project. It's a hands-on learning. But well worth it, and it's just a great experience, so. Ball in the House, this is gonna be, they're an a cappella group similar to Pentatonic, they're coming to work with our music students, so they're gonna do a music workshop with our kids at the end of the day. And as part of the fundraiser for the Moon Town 2, they're gonna have a concert open to the public. Our swing choir is going to be opening for them, so their first chance to see them, before the holidays and in that show. So that is going to be available. Prize Speaking will be coming up this month, so you can keep that on your calendar. We're closing out sports. We still got, so our cross country runners are still running. We have football next week. Or it's this Friday and hopefully next week. And then hard to believe we're already getting signed up for winter sports. One last item, just so, on your agenda, you are approving hopefully tonight is on the agenda for a math teacher with that. With the hiring of a math teacher, it's gonna actually help us open up some middle school math AIS. And it's one of the things that we'll do by doing so, I'm be able to create additional AIS classes for the middle school. Where we actually pulled the list of anybody with a 70 average or below, and I can get most of them in little small groups, so we can really build those foundational skills in 7th and 8th grade. So that will be a benefit by having the additional staff.
It's, I don't know who, if we really have this question, or answer. Is like basketball, the modified, boys and girls basketball, that's October, but. Is all that open on the website for the kids to sign up? Isn't there like a website that the students?
On Family ID?
Yeah, is that open for like basketball and all the?
Do you know if it opened yet?
I think it's open. I sent the link out. It is open.
We would have to check. Basketball might be different because the modified starts in January.
Modified's later.
No, JV.
All that's open, yes. Yeah,
It's open. Yeah, get on it.
I think it opened, what,
Yeah,
yesterday?
and that's one of the things too, like, report card I was talking about too,
I
like.
know.
It was recent.
Eligibility, not to harp on eligibility, I feel like all year we'll be doing eligibility, it'd be like. But that's, that was one of the things I made the announcement to everybody too, that's what we're gonna look at. And I actually, with eligibility, I created, there are 3 actually points in the winter season. Where grades are gonna be checked.
It's longer
The
season.
First market period grades, the second market period progress reports, the end of the second market period, all will fit. Within that third market period, so what I generated was a calendar that's got the date of it, when we check it, what's due, what's the thing. So I sent that to Mr. Gifford, who's giving it to all winter coaches. With the eligibility summary for the coaches to hand out to all their athletes and stuff, so. Everybody will have every date that they need to know when things are coming and what the implications will be to those dates.
I have a few things, all good. And then 1 or 2 things for Crystal, even though she's sitting in Katie's seat. First, I appreciate the details on the NCAA clearinghouse. Wasn't something I was aware we were missing things on, but I would hate for a student to be like a late bloomer and be highly successful, and then we find out they haven't been prepared to take advantage of their athletic opportunities. So that's a good win when we get all that straightened out. Thank you for that. I would just like to say, I don't have anything to report out on the BOCES board because I wasn't at the last meeting, but we did a tour where the students showed us a lot of the different classrooms in BOCES, and it would be really cool to do that here potentially, especially with FFA. I know when I first read this report, it sounds crazy, but I was pretty excited about the trout thing. I don't know anything about it, but it just sounded really cool. And it would be neat to sometime maybe see, in a board meeting, like, hey, let's go look with Mrs. Gallagher. Let's see what they're doing in FFA, have some of the students show us. I think that would be really cool if we could coordinate that at some point, maybe in the spring before they release the trout, right? That would be fun. Yeah, I mean, I would just love to see it. Yeah, and they could have them come in. It'd be great. Public speaking. I know they do a ton of that with FFA. I'm sure they would love to do that.
She's always excited.
And then a couple things on sports. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Also on that one, you have to tour the thing, just so you know.
Yep.
I didn't have any everything, it's next month, and I gotta wait for it, but we will also have some of our students presented to counselors locally about the CTE at BOCES.
Nice.
So, Golden Roberts is one of them with Welding. And
Awesome.
they'll be going to the state assembly to also present stuff what they do there, so once I find out.
I'd be curious too, like you probably know this, and I'm sure he's probably looked at it. I know Logan's gonna go into the army. If that's what he said now, like if he's going to translate some of this technical training he's gotten into specific placement in the armed forces, I'd be curious to
I'll find out.
learn about that and see again, like, are we advertising that to our student body and letting them know like, hey, this is one path for you post-graduation, and oh, by the way, going into the armed forces is a great thing anyway, but if you do certain preparation, you can get into some pretty unique roles right away.
That's one of the
You
things,
know.
like, I mean, everybody knows I'm very pro, I have 4 kids actively serving right now. But like, cause you go through it, like, and people think that, you're not just infantry, like I have one infantry, but everybody else is in completely different fields. I mean, you take well.
Right.
You can go to MOS, I mean, my niece was HR, like you had, learn how to do HR, got her college degree and human resources, stuff like that. It is an opportunity for kids, where the cost of education and stuff like that is, insane.
And then last thing, I think, fall sports. Yes, we're excited for football. Hopefully Friday, fingers crossed. I'm assuming we'll get like a more detailed report out from Mr. Gifford when it's done. And we do a great job with this, so I'm not saying we haven't done a great job, but I hope we give Danny Castatelli the proper send off each week moving forward, because he is our defending sectional champion. He's probably going to win sectionals pretty easily again, and like he has a shot to do some damage, make some noise at the state and federation levels. And sometimes we focus on the team sports, or I'm guilty of that myself, and like it's such a big accomplishment, and he's off to a great start senior year. So hopefully we get him. We don't forget about him with football. I'm all about football this week. So
It's a good point too, though, because we all
Yeah.
expect him. We just kind of assume he's gonna go, but yeah, we don't want to downplay it just because he's got such a good track.
I mean, he didn't just, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying this. He didn't just win CSCs. He won CSCs by a minute, and he treated it like a training run. He's on a whole nother level,
Yeah.
like as an athlete, and like he's had a great season, and knock on wood, he's positioned really well to peak in these top meets at the end of the year, and make some noise. So super exciting for him, for sure. And the program, like a lot of good training every day. But thank you guys. Crystal, a couple things. I love the data here. I love the data. I'm not trying to be nitpicking. I would love to see in the future, if we can, maybe you even send us a file, because the way you present it is nice, but I would love to have, it sounds nitpicky, but like this year and last year next to each other. So it's easier to see the areas where we have significant improvement. And then I'd be really curious to understand, maybe it's not now, but soon, like, what do we think is driving this improvement? I mean, like, for example, violation of bus rules, 45 occurrences last year in the first 2 months. This year's 27. Like, I mean, what are we doing? We've got to be doing something. What are our bus drivers doing? What are our aides doing? That's great. And on the flip side, there's very few that have gone up, but it jumped out at me, like neglect of safety rules, 21 this year, and last year was 13. Is there something we're missing there? We need to make little tweaks, right? Right, like just is the data giving us a good story?
Yeah.
what I'm familiar with. And just speaking to transportation, I have worked with Mr. Ostrander and set up, looking at a monthly session to get students that had bus referrals all come down and do bus safety training with me on e-bus. So we all go out together, we talk about bus safety, we talk about drivers, where they're looking, where they should be looking. So, and Ethan has been very, very helpful with that. The bus situation is a work in progress, but I think that too, talking to kids about modeling and the importance of setting good examples. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, again, like we love the data. We've been talking about data for a few years and I love the direction we're moving. But again, we want to hear about the successes just as much as the areas where we still want to work and have the data behind it and be able to talk about that and celebrate that. Like even, I'm not saying you got to push it out in a special parent square, but we should be thinking about, we should let people know like, hey, look at what, our teachers, our staff, our administration, look at what we're achieving and it all supports the goal of helping and focus us on learning, right? Because, it's huge.
Number. I know sometimes one student can
Yeah, it's true.
fall into lots of
I actually, a great point, because one of the things that really the disciplinary referrals aren't necessarily capturing are the daily interactions that I have with students. I'm not saying, hey, hello, how are you? How was your breakfast? If you're coming to my office, so I've actually started a different data collection piece just to document student interactions that if they make their way, because there are, just from the first day, I'm averaging 100 students per month. And we're 2 months in. But that's not necessarily every single time are they getting a referral for that. If it can be mediated with a counseling session or collaboration and sit down with a teacher to kind of get everyone on the same page. And those things aren't necessarily data driven, or they're not data driven, they're not collected in the referral data per se. So I've started just a little bit to just track even parental communication.
Sometimes too, it's really tricky with coding, because I can have one incident and it has 3 infractions on it. So it's
True.
not necessarily, it was insubordinate, they got in a fight and they, their vape showed up, so you got like 3 things on there, which was that one incident, but it doesn't necessarily, it's a coded one, it looks like 3.
You could have 10 incidents of aggression.
Right.
Correct.
Yes.
So it's not like, right.
So I had actually speaking to that, so on my student interaction data, my personal one, I have one student times 2 because she made her way back. So, but yes, all those things are important. It's hard I'm still getting to know the kids and staff and the culture and the needs. So work in progress, but thank you. And I hear you and we'll look at it.
One more general thing for all of you, just thinking out loud. I am curious when we finish the first marking period and we look at, how we're doing all of our students. In my mind, there's no question that the new eligibility policy has helped improve performance in the classroom, attendance, behavior. We've seen that improvement already. I'm wondering, I've never heard this. Do we look out for things like a data outlier? For example, we might have a student that maybe has an 85 or higher in every class except one and it's a 65. Do we look at grades that way, or are we not there yet because we've been spending so much time on keeping kids from failing that we're not really looking across the board and seeing like, how many kids do we have that have a grade that's out of whack for them? Right? Like maybe 75 is their norm and they have a 50 in something, or maybe 95 is the norm and they have a 75 in something. I'd be curious. I feel like that'd be next level to try to help identify kids that, maybe it's even the younger grades, maybe it's like 7th and 8th grades here in this building. Maybe it's younger grades in MPS, but because you think about it, you hear, it's almost cliche. Well, my kid's not good in math, or my kid's not good in English. They don't like to read. Okay, do they do well in school? Yeah, but they do really bad in this class. It seems like that's where we should be striving to move towards, where, well, if they're doing well in every class but one, we ought to be able to help them get the support
they need to do well in all of them. And not wait until they're doing so badly that now they're on, you know, the quote unquote naughty list because they're failing or, you know, whatever. Cause I mean, it's just something that we're helping coach this fall that I was thinking about too, with a couple of athletes that we had that were either at that line or below the line. And it's like, okay, well, they're good in their other classes. Like, why are they missing in this one class? Like, it doesn't, you know, it just doesn't add up. Even as a parent, you kind of, your red flags go up if you have one grade that's like totally out of line. And I'm always thinking about the kids that don't have that support at home.
You know, we formalize that, like, but typically what will happen is, once we prep report cards, counselor will go through every.
Maybe that's it, right?
You know, and then
Mhm.
we'll bring that to the next SST, go through and see anything that, you know, they see, you know, glaring and that sort of stuff. And that will, bring that to them and say, look for like those outliers and, you know, those things.
And again,
Yeah.
next level things, it could even be something we look at for sports, because hey, scholar athlete teams are a big deal. You want to see your kids on those, you want to see them succeeding. Look at the improvement we already made with how many kids would have been failing if we'd had it in place last year to the improvement this year. Well, that tells me we could probably even do better. And again, like, we don't want to single people out, but if we look at a team and we got a couple kids that are kind of struggling, and then we look a little deeper and, you know, they were at all the practices, their attendance was good, their behavior is good, but their grades weren't good in one or two classes. They're just barely passing. Let's help them learn to improve those results. That's really what we're here to do, is teach them they can do better and raise those expectations and say like, yeah, okay, like you can get an 80. You don't have to get a 67, you know, like you can do it. So just food for thought. Like, it's nice that we can think about those things though, because we're already seeing some real issues turning around pretty quickly in my mind. So.
There are school reports too
Mhm.
that can very quickly, for me, for fifth and sixth grade in particular, quickly you can populate students that are at risk from certain classes, so you force failure will go relatively quickly. But one of the big conversations that I had in the sixth grade team, just hearing Mr. Parody, his preparation for high school. So I met with the sixth grade team on our last half day. We talked about conferencing with all of the sixth graders with their report cards when they come up for the first term. But I did look at everyone's.
Where those conversations actually happen naturally, like at the elementary level, grade levels tend to have that common planning and they're meeting all the time. What's funny is the conversation we just had with our teacher leaders is when they go back with their teams, they're working at the high school, they're working with departments. At the elementary, they're working like cross grade levels. So we talked about the idea of, instead of that being every month that they're with those same people, can we flip some of those and alternate? So then the high school gets the opportunity to meet with grade level teams, so they can discuss those common kids. Who's doing well where, what types of things are you seeing with these students? And then the flip side at the elementary, where they don't necessarily get to do as much, then they can kind of work vertically within their content areas. So those are some things that are already in the works that weren't under that lens, but will naturally have those conversations.
Yeah, that's great. It's great.
I think one of the things that might be a good opportunity for, as we talk about the fifth and sixth graders, is kind of introducing them to the eligibility rules. You know, having those conversations at that level.
Sure.
Talking to them, who here enjoys athletics? When you get to seventh grade, are you gonna want to play? Well, these are the expectations that you're gonna be facing. And kind of preparing them for that and unveiling that earlier for them to start thinking about and setting their goals accordingly.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the right time. Someone told me that Pop Warner, Dan, maybe you know this, held like a scholar athlete.
Oh, yeah, they do.
recognition.
Yeah, every year.
I didn't know that was a thing, and
Yeah.
I thought that was fantastic
Yeah.
to hear. That is kind of being
I think the one,
endorsed at that age.
like nationally recognized.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
We have.
That was new to me. I didn't know that, and I
Yeah.
loved it when I heard it.
Jules Eisenhower went to the state level.
For 29
Years ago, yeah. She
Yeah,
did.
it was
Right.
last week was there, that's 9 there, and then there was a handful that were at the top tier national. Yeah.
Right.
And it's becoming more and more common at the club athletic level for kids to have to bring their report cards to their coach once they're issued. So. it's- I think overall, more and more people are putting the focus back where it needs to be first.
It's good.
No, it is good.
To circle back around to your question, Ken, it looks like signups for winter sports began last week.
Okay, okay.
I believe on Friday, and the winter coaches and parent meeting is scheduled for November 13th.
Yeah,
You still have to check.
Me?
Yeah.
that wasn't a daily update today. From the school. Just giving you a hard time, Ken. I never read them. I happened to read it today. I was like, oh, I added that to my calendar. Parent meeting on the 13th. Thank you, though. Appreciate the improvements. Really, really appreciate it. Awesome. Anything else on the presentations? If not, we're in board discussion. If board members have anything they wanted to interject, yeah, well, student reps, student board members, any discussion points?
I think just something that like the mention of like boards, I think it might be beneficial to have like maybe a come down to school like they did last time. I'm thinking like. I guess like colleges and for everyone and some might be like interested in something like everything and see what's like available.
Yeah. No, for sure.
I think having one come from all the different branches, talking about what the opportunities are associated with each would be great.
Yeah, because they are all very different.
Yeah.
I mean, same commitment, of course, but very different in the work that's been more.
And I'm not stuff yet during lunch. So one recruiter did reach out and we forwarded that to council office, so somebody will be setting that up. So typically they will set up a table at lunch. You know, and sometimes they're gonna pull up ours. I will do something, you know, the Marines. Got three of them, from Marines. So they'll do that, and then because I also said they can also do small groups similar to what we do with colleges. So like when they're there, if the kids want to have a a small group meeting, we use the conference room right there. That's where like colleges come in and meet with kids.
Nice.
Great. Thank you, Oscar and Jalen. Thank you.
I did want to add that the student council is also working on a food drive with Mr. Sidley, with local families for Thanksgiving. So that's something we're gonna add.
Yeah, so that got
Thank
put
you.
together this week. It's a sign out. They're gonna go and collect it in the main office. Every kid that somebody brings, they'll get a raffle ticket. And then student council will draw names for the raffle. With that, also piggyback on student council. I'll show them before. It'll be my follow-up afterwards for by December. There is a junior high and a high school group of student council is going to the conference in Niagara Falls. This month for a leadership conference to go through that, so our advisors.
Perfect. Great, thank you. Okay, moving into public comment.
Nothing?
Okay. Just gave you a second to catch up there, Patty. All right, we will move into old business then. We have a consent agenda on policies 7.3. Can I get a motion?
So move.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Lori. She had a quiet second over there. Scream louder next time, yeah. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. New business personnel, we have a consent agenda 8.1. Can I get a motion?
So move.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Kate. Do we have discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
A motion to enter executive session, matters legally the appointment of a particular person corporation, please, sorry.
Motion is made at 6:50. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. All those in favor of going into executive session to discuss a personnel matter? Aye. Oppose going in.